Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Tuesday, November 11th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle. I'm joined by Garrick, Hodge, and the Grand Poobah, Mark Porter. So much good stuff to get into. Garrick, it's been a crazy run for the Buckeyes starting last Thursday, as you were saying, just like as soon as you guys got off the air with Dan Rubin, the avalanche started. It began with Jay Timmons flipping from Florida State to Ohio State, the four-star corner. Very next day, Mason Wilhelm, Matt Wilhelm's son, offensive lineman. He commits to the Buckeyes. Sunday, I love this one. Emanuel, I love them all, but Emanuel Ruffin, the D tackle, he commits to the Buckeyes. And then yesterday they flipped Legend Bey from the University of Tennessee. What a crazy run. Let's start with Jay Timmons. Your thoughts on the Buckeyes getting him?
Yeah, just taking a 30,000-foot view for a second. When we ended the show on Thursday, I kind of sat in my chair and just had a reflection of myself. I was like, I felt like I was a little too much of a sunshine pumper, even though that's where all the vibes were headed. We talked about countless flip targets that Ohio State was pursuing, and I'm like, I just said nothing but flowery things about Ohio State's chances of landing all of them. And I mean, in fair, it's not like I was blowing smoke up your guys' butt. That's how the vibes truly were at the time. But I was like, oh man, when everything's always positive, something ends up happening that doesn't usually reflect that, right? Well, not in this scenario. Since we got off the show last time, Ohio State has landed 3 flips. And the first one, a couple hours after we were done recording, Jay Timmons, Florida State legacy, doesn't matter. He's coming to Ohio State, son of Florida State great and NFL standout Lawrence Timmons. I really like him a lot. He is a 5'11", 185-pound corner from Pennsylvania. There's some questions whether he'll play outside or kind of be that nickel corner or in the slot. I think he's more of a nickel myself, but this is a really lockdown corner with great coverage abilities. Ohio State really needed to add to their 2026 class at corner. They only had Jordan Thomas committed before Jay Timmons entered the fold. And Ohio State knew that they had to be aggressive. They certainly were. And give Jay a lot of credit. I mean, things aren't going very well at Florida State right now, and Jay is a very competitive person. He wants to be around a winning culture. He wants to be a place where he's going to be developed and honed to the best of his ability. And I think he found the perfect match in Ohio State. And honestly, after that visit, he spoke glowingly about them, and I'm not surprised that this flip ultimately got done.
Yeah, it is spatula season. That is exactly right. And Mason Wilhelm, Mark, obviously the son of Matt Wilhelm, who had a tremendous year in 2002, first-team All-American, helped lead the Buckeyes to the national championship. I love it. Is Mason Wilhelm a little underrated in the recruiting circles? Just what are your thoughts on Mason Wilhelm?
Yeah, he is a little underrated, and we've talked about him the last couple summers. Him being a legacy, we've always kind of saved the spot in our heart for that type of player, especially right before signing day is when that usually happens. The thing about Mason you're going to like the most this year is St. Ed's needed help on defense. They wanted to stop the run game. They were seeing some teams that could jam it down their throat. And he went over there on defense and made an immediate impact. And that just goes to the type of athlete he is, the way he can move around. He's one of those kids that showed up at that Ohio State camp, and you could just tell he wanted it. If he was another couple inches taller, it'd been a no-brainer. But you're going against the national offensive line scheme, and he just wasn't as tall as others. So he'll come in and probably factor in as a guard. He has a great motor. He's a try-hard kid. He's one of those guys that's giving you effort every play. And I tell you what, just like Jake Cook last year, there aren't many differences between these two players. They were both just a little bit, on the edge of the recruiting circle the whole time, and they got their chance. And it was so awesome when Jake Cook got his black stripe removed so early. So it kind of flies in the wind of all these star rankings and all that other stuff that when you show up on campus, there are other things other than your height, weight, measurables that make a difference.
One thing I want to say on Mason, and this is just more on kind of how this all unfolded and how it transpired. It kind of caught everybody off guard because obviously Ohio State was pursuing Kevin Brown, the Penn State commit, that there was a lot of positive vibes coming out of that unofficial visit when he came here for the Penn State game. I spoke with him, and he was very complimentary of Ohio State and their pursuit of him. And then a couple days later, it just ultimately started kind of trending toward West Virginia. And I know a lot of people are going to say, how can you pick West Virginia over Ohio State? This man is crazy. And, well, you could make that argument if you want to. But, I mean, he is a legacy. His father played there. And I get the feeling there might be some modern recruiting incentives as well for Mr. Brown in West Virginia. So give Ohio State credit. They weren't going to be reactive. They were proactive. And they went after Mason. I caught up with Mason a couple hours after his commitment. And I'm going to run that story today on Bucknuts. I haven't run it yet, not because I don't think the commitment's a big deal, but only because we got tipped that a couple more commitments might be coming, and I didn't want his moment to get overshadowed. So now that the run is on a hiatus for now, doesn't mean it's going to stay that way, but for now.
I was going to ask.
Yes, for now. We'll see. But we can tell Mason's story a little bit. So Mason got a call from Tyler Bowen at late on Thursday, and it was an extended conversation, and Tyler Bowen offered Mason the scholarship. Basically said, we've been evaluating you a long time. We know you've always wanted to be here. We loved what your dad accomplished for us back in the day. Anyway, long story short, he gave them the offer, said they believed in his abilities, let us know and think about it. Well, he had a conversation with his family that night. And then in the morning, he called Michael Lombardi, the general manager of North Carolina, and told him that he would be decommitting from the Tar Heels, called Ryan Day and Tyler Bowen a few minutes later, and that was that. And he posted that he was committed around lunchtime on Friday, and all of us were like, whoa, that kind of came out of nowhere. But he is the fifth and most likely final offensive line commit for the 2026 cycle. I guess if someone like Kevin or Micah Champ-Smith really wanted back in there, it'd have to be a conversation, but they're probably full right now at O-line. We'll just have to see how that plays out. But yeah, the last thing I'll say about Mason is that you could just hear how excited he was to get that offer. And Ryan Day, whenever he speaks about recruiting, what does he always say first? We want kids that want to be Buckeyes. I don't know if there's a recruit in this class that wanted to be a Buckeye more than Mason, because it took him, all of 12 hours, even less than that, to accept the offer. So yeah, pretty exciting. And for those that still really like recruiting feel-good stories, you can't get much of a better one than that, especially with him being a legacy recruit.
Let's go back to Jay Timmons for a moment. I'm sure there's Bucknutters out there. They're like, can we see a video of Jay Timmons? Yes, you absolutely can, because we have Mark Porter on here. He's got a video ready for you. Let's see this video of Timmons. All right, here we go. Mark, I got it queued up for you, man.
So this is Timmons at receiver. Yeah, this is a one-game cut-up. That's Timmons right there running in for a touchdown. We're going to see him at defensive back on this play and then a couple more plays on offense. This isn't a highlight tape. This is just when the team cuts up film from a game and they say, okay, here were your best plays. But this gives you an idea of the athlete he is on offense, tailback, receiver, the speed and the athletic ability. We saw the high point of the ball here. Obviously, if Dan was here, he would do his 5-minute talk about he's from an NFL player. That is a heat-seeking missile coming downhill there. So he showed off ball skills, hitting ability. We're only 4 plays into a cut-up. It's very easy to like players when they do so much like that. I mean, he just put on, in 5 plays, a variety of traits, and now he's at safety over the top. Is this guy like one of those triple threats for sports where he does it all? That's a pretty big-time player we're going to pull in here at the end. And then if we want to go over to Mason Wilhelm's video, I'm going to kind of flip that over for you here in a second, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stop this one, and I'll give you a second to pull up the next one here.
Let's see.
And I kind of previewed you guys and said, okay, Mason Wilhelm, here it is playing offense and defense. They're going against Archbishop Hoban. He's the guard right there. The next couple plays are going to be on offense, and then we'll see him over on defense. But he moves very well. You see the feet. And then, again, this is a one-game cut-up. This isn't like his 10 best blocks on the year. And as a scout, I really don't mind watching cut-ups because you can tell if someone's a player. Even in their small cut-ups, you don't need their 10 best, because everybody's 10 best plays makes them look good. I'm really waiting for these clips of defense since I hyped them up so much on the defensive side. But St. Ed's, top quality competition. I wish we can see Sam Greer here in the next couple of weeks in the playoffs. I know we're going to do that. That was a nice pancake by Mason there. Please give me one clip on defense. Dan usually wouldn't have the patience to wait this long. I'm sorry we didn't preview this beforehand, but with Mason being a recent Buckeye, I don't think we mind spending the extra minute or so here on him.
And had he ever played defense before?
No, and that's what was kind of interesting. I'm sure at younger ages he had, but
yeah.
What stands out, and I was just going to say it, is his feet. He really looks good in space, and I noticed the jump kids make from sophomore year to junior year to senior year, and you can definitely see Mason's feet are a little bit poppier. You see him right there with a couple of pops before he gets off the ball. So his off-season work has showed up in his feet. I think we can move on now that we've,
the next one's going to be a defensive.
The next one will be there. It is.
See, there we go. We got to keep it on. I want to.
He knows he's an offensive guy, so there you go.
That's the last thing the opposing offensive line wanted. They're moving Mason Wilhelm. He's playing D tackle and he's playing offensive line. Like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
And that's a little more rare with a powerhouse like St. Ed's. That happens all the time at most high schools, right? A kid like that plays both ways.
And just from a stamina standpoint, they don't ask those kids to do it. We saw Jameer Perez do it earlier in the year. I mean, and he's making a difference over here on these 5 or 6 plays. He's in on the plays. He's kind of holding things up in there. I could see why they put him on defense.
That's interesting. Well, if things don't work out at guard, the Buckeyes have a D tackle in waiting, right? All right. Speaking of a D tackle in waiting, Garrick, let's talk about Emanuel Ruffin. We'll bring the video down here. All right, Emanuel Ruffin. I just what a great getting a big guy. He's already 295 pounds. He's not one of these D tackles or D ends that you have to grow into a D tackle. He's a D tackle ready to go. What a great get. I know you saw this coming, but I guess when did things start to really move in Ohio State's direction, momentum-wise?
Well, probably right before the Penn State game, even before he decommitted from Colorado, because there was some speculation that Saturday that he might be there at the Penn State-Ohio State game. He ultimately wasn't able to make it, and that was just more of his travel logistics didn't work out more than it was he didn't want to be there, of course. I'd expect him to be at one of the next 2 home games most likely for Ohio State, so he will get to campus at some point. But Emanuel Ruffin's story was always kind of interesting because it kind of flew under the radar. In the summer, it certainly didn't. He took an official visit to Ohio State. A lot of people thought that was going to be an LSU versus Ohio State battle. He set a commitment date for July, and then he really kind of postponed it as he kind of wanted to reevaluate his options. Eventually committed to Deion Sanders in Colorado in September. And then from there, he was kind of forgotten about in terms of the Buckeye sphere, right? Well, he and Larry Johnson have stayed in contact throughout the fall, just casual check-ins and all that. And ultimately, he wanted a little bit more stability, and he wanted to be at a place that he knows he can get developed. And Ohio State really wanted to get him on campus for the Penn State game, and they were hoping to kind of get this done there. Ultimately, that didn't work out, but they knew that they probably didn't need him to get on campus to get this done, and ultimately they didn't. He decommitted from Colorado. I believe it was Tuesday of last week. Maybe I'm wrong. It's give or take a day. But ultimately, Missouri was really confident. Ohio State was really confident. Missouri had been pursuing Emanuel for a while too. But at the end of the day, the allure of Larry Johnson is still very hard to turn down. You see what Ohio State is doing in terms of their developmental track record of putting defensive tackles and defensive linemen in the NFL. And Dave, I'll tell you this. I know he's going to play probably 3-tech or a nose guard in college, but the guy is 6'4", 295 pounds, and is playing really 5 technique right now for his high school at defensive end. So it gives you an idea of his athleticism and how quickly this guy moves and how much there is to build on with this guy.
That must be fun trying to block him if you're a high school offensive lineman. Jeez. All right, I'm gonna ask you guys about. Go ahead.
A couple clips in if you like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I say you guys. You teased him very accurately, Garrick. I was thinking he has some defensive end get off here, and that's why when you said that he's out at 5 technique, you'll see him here at 5 technique. He's headed inside, but you love when these guys have that athletic ability, that twitch off the ball, that first step. I watched about 5 clips of this before I put this in here, and you can see it right there. He's in the backfield. The tackles for losses usually start to add up when you have that first step, and you can get through a shoulder of a guy instead of having to take him on face-to-face. You see him rip through the double team right there. That 300 pounds is a lot of man for high school kids to anchor against, and you see it. There it is, the rip through the shoulder. Well, once those shoulders are turned and 300 pounds is going north or south, you're not running in that gap. So there he is at defensive end. We'll do another clip there. I really like I love how Ohio State gets these guys at the last second. And, we've said this mulligan concept where we didn't even have to get to the mulligans. We're scooping up guys right here that, geez, oh man, if they weren't available 2 months ago, it's crazy how they're available right before signing day.
Another thing really quick, and this is more of a 30,000-foot view. Dave, you can probably provide more historical context than I can, and probably Mark too. But it's been pretty rare over the past 2 decades or so to get players from Alabama to come to Ohio State. And yet Ohio State's gotten 3 really talented players from Alabama in the past 2 cycles with Turbo Rogers, Zion Grady, and now Emanuel Ruffin. Maybe that's a product of the modern times that we're in. And, you could make the counter argument that Ohio State sometimes doesn't always keep the in-state kids in Ohio. They still do more often than not, but not as often as maybe it was 5 years ago. But I just think that, wow, when was the last time you saw 3 kids from Alabama coming to Ohio State within a 2-year cycle period? I mean, obviously, this is my 5th season covering the team, so I don't have the historical context that you guys probably do, but I just am sitting here thinking, wow, this is truly new times in Ohio State recruiting.
Yeah, and I think it's another situation that with Nick Saban retiring, something else that kind of helps Ohio State here. I hadn't really thought about that, but I'm sure that plays into it. Would Zion Grady be here if Saban didn't retire? Who knows? Would they have gotten Emanuel Ruffin if Saban was still there? Who knows? Maybe not.
That Alabama offer was sacred when Saban was there. If a kid got an Alabama offer, it was really rough to pull them away. I mean, it's like where we're at right now, comparatively, where it's really tough to turn down Ohio State right now, where I hope when I see these Saban rumors, please don't let him show up in the Big Ten somewhere for the next couple of years, because that type of stuff will be back. He's that type of demanding personality and icon of the sport.
And Legend Bey yesterday, the 4th in this crazy run, he flips from Tennessee to the Buckeyes. An athlete, he can do a little bit of everything. You have a good story on the site that I was just reading about him, Garrick. What do the listeners need to know about Mr. Legend Bey?
I love Legend, man. It's really tempting to make a really cheesy pun and go, a legendary commitment, which, myself and probably 5 other members that cover Ohio State did yesterday. We can't help ourselves. It's fine.
Just look at the title of the show, The Legend.
I mean, his parents named him that, so you would literally do that. So you have to do it. I mean, if you're a parent and you named your kid Legend, I think you were ready for the headlines before the headlines got there. I mean, that is a name like Champ or some of these other names that you're preceding what you're actually going to be able to do.
For sure. Anyway, it took me a little bit to dig into what exactly position he would play at Ohio State. And the term that I got was offensive weapon. Just get him the ball, man. This is a guy that's clocked a 10-2 100-meter dash. And granted, that was aided a little bit by the wind. He's probably more along that 10-5, 10-6, even 10-7 range, depending on the day. But still, you can't teach speed like that. And I think he has, once he gets on campus, he's going to have one of the most versatile skill sets on the entire team. This is a guy that is a high school quarterback and has thrown 15 touchdowns to 3 interceptions this year, thrown about 1,400 yards, and has ran for 1,600 yards and 23 touchdowns. So pretty eye-popping stats taking a look at his high school career. His senior film, if you really want to get some people excited, just pull up some of his senior film and some of those highlights. It's off the charts. There's just a highlight reel every other play. The explosion and the athleticism and the agility is just something to marvel at. And speaking about his fit at Ohio State, he's going to play some running back, he's going to play some slot receiver, and he's going to be in strong contention even as a freshman to return kicks and return punts as a freshman. He's going to be a dynamic weapon on special teams. And I know Dave's really wanted a weapon at special teams for a while. Well, you might have gotten one, sir.
Good.
But, yeah, I hate to throw this. I've told Dan before, I am not usually a player comp guy because I think it's a little unfair to the kid. But it's really tempting to throw Curtis Samuel comparisons to this kid with just how much he can move all around the field and the skill set that he has. And I'm really excited to see this guy play in Columbus, man.
And Curtis Samuel was a kick returner as a true freshman at Ohio State on the national championship team, and actually was the second-string tailback for a large chunk of that season behind Ezekiel Elliott as a true freshman. So we'll take that. All right. I bet people want to see a little video of Legend Bey. Well, here you go. Mark Porter, take it away, sir.
So you guys bragged about his speed, so I got to add a little color to just the speed, and you can see the guy over the top there. the side to side is what's really impressive. That first move coming out of the backfield, that jump cut and that jitterbug is something we need to add to this. And I'm a guy that foot in the ground right now to get north and south, and just that's pretty impressive. So
that burst right there was crazy.
Yeah, I'm a player comp guy. That's what I get paid to do, is come up with comps. I know Dan called him our Percy Harvin, and I like the Curtis Samuel thing. Do you guys remember Tavon Austin at West Virginia? You know, just just the type of player that is like you're saying, the Swiss Army knife. You can put him in the backfield play. He's a mismatch wherever. Now, he's not the biggest guy in the world. I mean, he's a littler guy. He's not someone you're just going to slam between the tackles. But when they say in space, that's what he is designed to do, and he will make plays. Special teams would be you got your punt returner. I mean, the first guy down stands very little chance to match that type of quickness. And, of course, we've seen him get to the open field a couple times here. It's over. And don't you love having that guy on your team where you see him get the space, you're like, oh, this is over. Sort of like Henderson in that screen pass against Texas or whatever it was. When he caught it, you're like, oh, there's nobody coming to get that guy. And even Henderson in the NFL twice the other day, like as soon as he got in the open field, you're like, oh, the rest of the world's just getting to see this kid. There's no one on the field catching him. So I think that element is here with this kid.
And he's got the toughness. I know, as you said, he's not the biggest kid, but yet his explosion, his home run hitting ability is his best asset. But you can tell he's tough as well. You don't do some of the things he's doing, not being a tough hombre. All right, I want to ask you guys about this.
Really quick, Dave, before we get into another topic, one thing I want to add about Legend. A couple other teams made some pretty significant late pushes to try – well, I should rephrase. Tennessee made a significant late push. Josh Heupel went in to visit his school on Friday to really try to keep him in the class. And then Texas, his home state school, came in and offered him on Friday and tried to get him to postpone his decision because Texas is, let's just say, a little late to the party in understanding how dynamic of a weapon that he could be. And clearly by his decision, he told them that they were very late to the party. While Legends really only kind of back on the radar recently. I mean, Ohio State offered this kid in January. They've been in constant communication with him. They've had a relationship with him for a while. And probably a lot of the need for him, if you will, was spurred by Amari Latimer, the Wisconsin running back commit, kind of dragging his feet out in terms of making a decision. And I think that ship has probably sailed, and that Legend will probably serve as the de facto second running back commit of the 2026 class, even though he's not just a running back. But nonetheless, yeah. So just to put into context, over the past 3 days, Ohio State has survived a late Hail Mary push from Tennessee to keep him in their class and a late Hail Mary push by Texas to try to get him to drag this out. So those are two pretty quality teams that Ohio State's going head-to-head with on the recruiting sphere and found a way to edge out.
I want to switch gears and talk early signing period, specifically the date of it. This is the second year. It's in early December, not late December. When they first did the early signing period, of course, it was the end of the third week of December, and then they bumped it up last year. So we're just 3 weeks and 1 day away from the early signing period. It'll be Wednesday, December 3rd through Friday, December 5th. I want to get your guys' thoughts. You guys talked to a lot of coaches. I also just want to get your thoughts just in general, how you guys feel about it. We'll start with Mark. Do coaches like this better, college coaches, even high school coaches? And just what do you think about the early signing period, the second year of it being the first week of December, Mark?
Yeah, I think they love it. And it's strictly from the standpoint is they don't have to play defense anymore. With this flip season, and you see like Coach Heupel coming up there, well, what's he have to do when he loses a player? Sweat it out, find another player on the board, and do all that work all over. Were we nice to this kid over the summer? Did we go to his school in the past? How do we pick a guy off that we have no relationship with? And that's a pain in the butt. And if the signing day wasn't until February and you're the tight ends coach at Ohio State and you don't have a tight end committed, you're sweating it out for 60 more days. Right now, if you're Keenan Bailey and your tight end commits, you put your feet up on your desk and you say, for the next couple months, I'm not calling this kid every night, watching Twitter, seeing where he's visiting, seeing what games he's getting invited to, and just worrying. Just simply stated the stress level. I got enough other things to worry about. I don't need to worry about my currently committed guys jumping at the last second. So the sooner we get them committed, the better. And with that date moved up, that fits that whole thing. Yeah, it might be a little aggravating during your season and you're worried about other stuff. So now you got a signing day during a season. But I'll take that because I'm not worrying for the next 60 days.
Yeah, and Garrick, compare it to, even though it was just a few years ago, 2023 was the last one, it being at the end of December and now being the beginning of December. Yes, the Buckeyes, if they make it to the Big Ten championship game, will obviously be getting ready for the Big Ten championship game the week of the first signing period. But I remember in 2022, they're getting ready for the college football playoff while dealing with the early signing period in late December. So I imagine if Ryan Day had to pick, he would like this. He likes this schedule better than the previous one. What are you hearing?
If you're taking a bird's eye view and just speaking, how do coaches across all of college football like this? I would say that they're mostly in favor. If you're talking about how Ohio State coaches feel, I think it's still mainly positive, but I think they just know that under the circumstances, this is probably the best that they can hope for, meaning that they'd much rather have it. Because I'll give you a scenario. Assuming that Ohio State beats Michigan, right? They're going to be playing most likely Indiana for the Big Ten championship. So they will be preparing for Indiana in the Big Ten championship and also scrambling to finish off signing day and play defense on guys in the first half of that week, right? So there was a little bit of wrench into that, especially for teams playing on conference championship weekend. Most teams don't play on conference championship weekend, which is why they are perfectly content with having it being the first week of December.
16 teams in the Big Ten are fine with it.
Yeah, and they can dedicate their entire week to recruiting. And obviously, Ohio State is going to dedicate a lot of that week to recruiting, but they can't dedicate the entire week to recruiting. Knock on wood, hopefully, because they will probably be preparing for a Big Ten championship game. But that is much more preferable than to having it right before the first round of the college football playoff, which is a true winner-go-home game. No matter what happens in that Big Ten championship game, Ohio State will be in the college football playoff, right? So obviously you're going into it with a mindset that you got to win, and they're not going to approach that game with anything. But worst-case scenario, you're still in the college football playoff, and we've seen what Ohio State can do even after a loss before they enter the college football playoff. When you're preparing for recruiting and you're not focused on the actual playoffs itself, it's a complete unmitigated disaster. Now, what I think Ohio State would like, and I don't know if it's plausible, is to have a signing period in the summer, like somewhere July and August. And if kids know where they want to go and they're ready, just have them sign in August. The NCAA has been considering that for years now. Who knows if it's ever going to get traction off the ground. I haven't heard an update on that, but I do know that there is some support for a summer signing period, and I don't know. But under the circumstances, I think that early December is probably the best of both worlds for everybody.
I remember writing columns way back in the day that this was when there was just the one signing period, and it was in February, which I do kind of miss those days. But I was like, listen, they need to have an early signing period the end of July. And I always say, just do it just like college basketball does. What does college basketball do? They have an early signing period, like basically right before practice opens. Right before practice is allowed to start, they have an early signing period. Do that with football right before camp opens, have an early signing period. And finally, after years and years and years, they finally did an early signing period, and they put it in late December. I'm like, what are we even doing here? Just leave it with February. So, yeah, I think it should be at the end of summer, but what do I know? I tell you one thing I do know. It is time for, drum roll, please, Buckeye in the Sky, the Purdue game. Take it away, Mark Porter.
Yeah, if it was more than a Purdue game, it gets a little more response. But we did what we should have did against Purdue. There are things to break down, and Dan, when he helps me pick plays, I think any play that actually works against this defense, we have to break it down and figure out what exactly they did. Okay, so starting off with Purdue on defense, pretty different look there. 5 defensive backs. You don't usually see 5 over the top that often, so you know something's up. The 2 linebackers right there, what are they doing? Are they coming? Are they going? 4 verticals is the play. If those guys come, you're going to probably read the area where they blitz from, and I'm kind of alluding to they're probably blitzing. So, let me play that again. So these middle linebackers here are going to come firing through these. That means we're going to have 6 guys coming against 5 offensive linemen, which means somebody's going to come free. The guy that should come free actually gets jammed up in here, and he can't get through the hole to be free. So that goes in our advantage. If you look right now, you can see both slot guys are about to pop open. He's about to pop open here. He's about to pop open here. If you had time, you'd give this a little nudge, and then you'd go back to this side, and you're wide open for a touchdown. When you ask a running back to pick up a blitzer, you're asking a lot, and it just throws off the rhythm. There's the open receivers. There's Julian trying to regather his feet. Hats off to Purdue. Great blitz, 6-man. You took your chance, and it worked. Okay. This play is a trips play down here at the bottom of the field, and if you run a guy underneath this linebacker, what's he going to do? He's going to step up and cover it. And if you run a guy deep at this corner, what's he going to do? He's going to back up. So there's going to be a void in here. And there they have trips receivers. So simply this is a layered concept where you're going to have one guy short and you're going to try to find a guy right in this void. Takes a little while to get this to develop because you've got to get that safety the heck out of there. If you can pass protect for concepts like this, it's dangerous. 4 linebackers dropping out underneath for Ohio State. Very vanilla look with 3 guys over the top, cover 3. And there was time, and you see that ball fly over the linebackers, land right in front of the safeties. Hats off to Purdue. We give credit when credit's due. Well executed. Do it again and again against us. Okay, so defensively, you got this pre-snap cover 4, 3 linebackers underneath. Purdue tried a bunch of different defenses. Essentially, this can be a one-on-one. If this safety comes over, it's now double coverage on Jeremiah. We're trying to go to Jeremiah all the time now down the field. It seems like there's any type of a one-on-one. So a play action helps you hold people. Maybe helps that safety be held. Julian's going to stare at him like maybe there's something coming, but we don't even run a tight end down to affect him. You just put this ball to the outside, and just that little look saves this guy from probably being over here and over the top. Another one-on-one and a high point catch for the, Heisman duo favorite right there. I don't know which one's better. Cover 2 shell. This is probably one of the last plays we'll do. And Dave, I know you were one of those guys in college that when you played Madden against your friends, you put a 99 speed receiver in a tight end, and you made linebackers try to cover him, right? And your roommates were probably like, Dave, stop doing that. It's not fair. Everyone knows how to beat cover 2. You run these guys down the sides, and you get these 2 safeties to widen out and play over the top. And then what does that do to the middle of the field? The football 101, it's usually wide open. And who usually runs down the middle of the field? Tight ends, right? We have Jeremiah Smith lined up for that spot. So if you're the Purdue defense, alarm bells have to be going off. We're in cover 2. The guy that could run down the middle of the field is the best player in college football. And you saw me highlight it. This middle linebacker is going to be the guy that tries to drop over the top. Dave, is that a mismatch?
Yes, it is.
Even if you were coaching 3rd grade flag football for girls, you know that is a mismatch.
That's a tough Moreland against
and there it is. Once you're by these linebackers, you just have to lay it in here. And we know the safeties are widening. And look at the time.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, I could throw this ball. You could throw this ball. If we could throw it 50 yards.
I was going to say, it wouldn't go very far.
Yeah. I mean, look at the safeties, how they're late coming from where they were responsibility. The middle linebackers late. I mean, Julian Sain's going to win a Heisman. Or he's in a Heisman race. But you ask yourself, was that a hard read? Was that the best player in the world versus a linebacker? This is how I win a Heisman? In a meeting on Tuesday, Julian, do you think you could recognize when we put Jeremiah down to Smith and he's matched up on a linebacker? Yeah, coach, I think I can. So hats off to everybody at Ohio State, dialing these things up. Defensively, we got a 3-man line, but we're bringing a linebacker. This is our nickel package. The 4 linebackers underneath, the 3 guys over the top. Very simple. It's a base rush, a base underneath coverage. It's not like Matt Patricia's reinventing things, but he's definitely disguising it. And much like we saw a play earlier, you're going to try to get into that void where you're going to make a linebacker cover someone in front of him and try to throw it just over his head and layer it in there. I tell you what, the offensive line didn't do a bad job. You see the quarterback using his eyes to help set this up. I mean, Purdue's well coached. They just don't have the horses that Ohio State has.
Look at Zion Grady in there, the aforementioned Zion Grady in there getting pressure. He's doing a good job as a true. I love this true freshman class. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean,
look at that interception.
So, yeah, even on a play where you have everything executed pretty well, boy, I mean, they're over the top there on you. And Dan usually pulls this off and says the rest of it's premium from here out. But
yeah, I guess. Yeah,
it's fun. I could talk about these concepts all day and what Ohio State's trying to do.
I love watching it. It's fantastic. We're just football junkies here. All right, guys. I want to say this. We'll wrap up the show now. We have the Ryan Day press conference earlier than usual today. Happy Veterans Day to all of our military veterans out there. We couldn't do stuff like just talk football and live our lives without you guys. So we appreciate all the veterans out there. Thank you so much. Happy Veterans Day. And Ohio State's closed today. There's no school. That's why they're moving practice up. Moving everything up. So Ryan Day at 11 a.m. today, not noon. So great stuff out of Garrick, Hodge. Great stuff out of the Grand Poobah, Mark Porter. We'll be back with you on Thursday. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Vets.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in. We appreciate it very much. Hope everyone has a great day. We're still basking. Go Bucks.